Well, welcome to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about building the life you choose on your terms. Today is Monday, August 9th, 2021. This is episode 462 of Living Free in Tennessee, and we're looking a little hybrid-y today. I'm on a walk. I'm talking to my phone. This weekend got a little crazy, and I did not record my Monday podcast, so I have the content for that put together. I'll be recording that on Wednesday for you, but I wanted to talk to you about mindset today, because what I'm doing is about fixing a mindset I have. So that's something I'll talk to you about as I dive into the content today. And I'm going to share this both as a podcast and on YouTube, because it's episode 462. We're coming up on 500th episode though. And to celebrate that, what I wanted to do was invite y'all to send me an email, Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com, to let me know how this podcast has positively impacted your life or how the community has. Or you can record your own segment in audio. Email that also to Nicole@livingfreeintennessee.com. If you're not confident about how to spell Nicole, Nicole, there's no H in my name. There shouldn't be an H in my name, right? Anyway, just go over to livingfreeintennessee.com and click on the contact form, and that will give you access to my email. You just won't see what it is. It just sends straight to me, but you can't attach anything to it. So just know that. So get those in by October 15th, and I will play them all and or read them all on the podcast. This is kind of a different walk today because I actually see cars. Kind of interesting. Anyway, so here's the deal. Mindset. You need to get your mindset right to face what you're going to face and be successful. And we talk about that all the time. Well, today I started my first class I've ever taken at James Yeager's place, and it's basically about trauma medicine and, helping people who do silly things like get shot or accidentally cut their limbs off or get stabbed or fall over. I just heard a story today about a guy who was in the middle of the night, got up to get a glass of water, went to his fridge, got ice, got water from the door. An ice cube had fallen on the floor. He tripped and fell on it, dropped the glass, fell, and cut his neck artery. That's really bad. Okay, and he applied pressure, managed to drive himself to the hospital 2 blocks away, and they came in, and he lived, and they thought that he was lying to them about how he got hurt because it sounded so far-fetched. So they sent the police to his house and checked it out, and then ended up verifying that that's in fact what happened. So, I'm hearing a lot of interesting stories, but the cool thing about this training is that it gives you hands-on experience. So I was putting tourniquets on myself, on other people, and actually practicing and looking at, if you're in a situation that's dangerous, looking around to see, while you're doing it, to see that you're not about to get shot yourself, right? Okay, so this is why it made me think of mindset. So I came into this class having only ever taken a CPR class before, and that was in my teenage years. And I've applied first aid to animals and people around the homestead, but I'm always a little timid because I don't want to hurt them. And I've realized that sometimes when you're helping people in a first aid setting, you have to hurt them to stop a much bigger problem. So in the case of a tourniquet, you need to tighten that tourniquet hard enough that it's going to hurt like a mofo. And I know now because I put one on myself that it does. And the trade-off is if I don't tighten it enough, you bleed out, right? That's bad. So you're trading off one relatively minor pain for another pain. And I knew going into this entire situation that it would be hard for me because I knew I was going to be putting tourniquets on people and doing some other stuff. It would be hard for me to cause pain, especially in a simulated situation. And I thought, well, I need to get my mindset right about this because I don't know what I'm going to learn in this class exactly. But I know that if I'm ever going to be helpful in a crisis situation, beyond directing traffic or handing blankets or putting pressure on a wound, right? I'm also really good at yelling, so that's one of my superpowers. I need to have my mindset right for this class. And I will tell you, for the first hour of the class, I was really struggling with getting my mind right because it was kind of started out more get to know everybody and less this is what we're going to learn about. So I was struggling with it. And then they launched into our first exercise without telling us we're going to do a simulation. So I didn't understand what was going on. And then I'm like, I'm pretending that I'm bleeding out and this feels so fake and I feel stupid. And I got the tourniquet on myself and managed to get serious about it, a little bit more serious. Now, like I wasn't joking or jovial. I was just like, this is kind of weird, right? And by the end of it, got the tourniquet on successfully. I was really glad I was successful with it, and got everything done. And then I was like, okay, so we're gonna do another exercise soon. And I need to actually now understand what we're doing, because I just didn't understand. They didn't really explain, hey, we do simulations in these classes, and that's because they assume you've already been through a class before, and I haven't, so I don't understand. In fact, the other person who was confused was the only other person who's never been through one of their classes, because we're like, what? Wait, what? I'm like, okay, I got to get serious about this if I'm going to learn. And so next simulation, I was like, okay, I'm going to take it seriously. What would I really do if I was in this room, in this setting, and needed to put a tourniquet on my leg or whatever? So learned how to do that. And then we had to apply them to other people. And by that time, we had gone kind of beyond the casual social into more informational stuff, which is why I was there. And I have learned a whole bunch today just about injury and first aid and applying it in emergency, things you can use to, if you don't have the right thing, the wrong thing you can use, because it's better to save a life with the wrong thing than not to save the life, if you can do that. And I was in a group of 3 people because we were pairing up, but it was an odd number in the class. And I was the person who had to put a tourniquet on 2 people at one time. So if you have 2 people bleeding out and they could they could lose consciousness within a minute to a minute and a half. Right, I got to figure out how to stop the blood enough on one to keep them alive long enough so that all of, everybody comes together. And I was really lucky because the instructor he kind of followed me, and I got him behind this wall, and he's like, well, he's asking me questions as I'm doing this, like, hey, are you going to ask him to help you? And I was like, oh yeah, I can ask him to put pressure on their own wound. And he was kind of asking me coaching questions, which was great. And it kind of, he's like, what do you do to help one while you're helping the other at the same time? Like, you can kneel on the artery and slow it down while you're putting a tourniquet on the other one. So then you would kneel on the one that's not bleeding as fast and help the other one, right? And talked me through the whole thing. I got both tourniquets on in time, and causing pain to my own friends, which isn't fun, but they were gracious about it, and got through. And I thought, the fact that I've gone through that scenario, which I hope I'm never in that situation or in a situation where that happens, the fact that I've done that, though, locked in for me things I would have not have done if it was just one person that I need to put a tourniquet on. And that is things like asking them to help themselves, right? Like, apply first aid to yourself. If you're still conscious, you can do that. And it got me to thinking about, finding a good alcove or shielded area and some of these other things. And I thought, this is the mindset I want to have, because now I've been through, in a very clunky way, this scenario. And my mind has worked through these problems without somebody just telling me what to do. They asked me questions. And that shift in my mindset means that I'm ready to troubleshoot better in a situation. So let's see, think about what this looks like, okay? What's really going to happen in my life, most likely? Well, I live on a homestead, and I have pigs, I have goats, and I have fences. And it's entirely possible that something will get caught in the fence and be flailing around and dangerous to deal with, or have a terrible cut. We've already had it happen that an animal gets pretty well messed up and is bleeding everywhere, and I need to deal with that situation. Can't ask an animal to help itself, but I can ask somebody who's nearby, if there are 2 of us, to help me. right? That's one thing. Two, the other thing I'm very likely to happen, because it happens to me already, is I will be driving along the road near my house, which is an awesome, awesome motorcycle road. It's great. It has all the right curves. Problem is, not every motorcycle navigates the curves successfully. And more than one time I've come across somebody having had an accident, and the goal is to keep them alive till the EMTs get there. It's going to take the EMTs 20 minutes to get there minimum, and they get there as fast as they can. It's just where we are. Like, if you're on the other end of the road, right, it might be 10 minutes, but you got to keep them alive. Well, they're probably not going to be in a situation where I need to put a tourniquet on. Usually you're looking at scrapes and maybe some internal bleeding and broken bones. I've seen like leg bones sticking up out, but the artery's fine. So what does that mean I can do? Well, I can think of all the ways they can help themselves if they're conscious. I can think of questions to ask them and keep them talking to kind of keep them alert. And, in a bad situation, I can, yes, help them stop the bleeding if they're bleeding, right? You don't want to move people who've been through some sort of like bone trauma like that if you don't have to, like, because if they have a broken neck but they're still aligned and breathing and not paralyzed, by moving them you can paralyze them. Or I know somebody whose neck was so badly broken that had they been moved, their head would have flopped to the side, cut off the air passage, and they would have died, just because there was no structure there to keep their air passage open. And then I know a series of things to go through, like to look for the blood, stop the bleeding, get that under control, make sure they're breathing, then assess their brain, talk to them, see how they're doing, and then from there look at the rest of their body. Those are the steps they told us to go through. So just having that mindset for extreme situations means in less extreme situations, I am better prepared to engage with somebody who needs my help. And I'm sharing this story with you today because we talk about mindset so much. And my mind in the last 2 months or so, I've been slipping out of the mindset I want to be in for my own success and into a mindset I don't want to be in. And I thought this class is the perfect opportunity for me to fine-tune my mindset, for me to get a new skill under my belt and then apply what I learned from that to the rest of what I'm doing here at Living Free in Tennessee. So what I'm going to do is clear my schedule for the 2 days it takes to take this class, which is not on a weekend, right? And I'm going to get my mindset adjusted and learn from it and move forward with that information. And I'm glad I did. And I encourage you, if you've had something, I've been interested, by the way, I've been interested in first aid and taking a stop bleed class and all this stuff for a long time. If there's something like that in your life, that's a hard skill you can learn that will help your mindset, make time for it. I guess that's what I want to share today. So I hope you enjoyed this short episode of Living Free in Tennessee. It's like the old days when I did Friday short shows, but it's a Monday short show. I'm super excited to have had this opportunity. If I hadn't met the Willises at SOE Tactical, I would have never come across this. I always knew about James Yeager, but I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. It's a long drive. I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm going to go take a class, right? So if I hadn't met them, I'm really thankful that they've come into my life. And I'm thankful for this opportunity to fine-tune my mindset so that my next 2, 4, 6 months are even more successful. And I encourage you to do the same thing if there's something like that in your life. If you want to support the show and the work I do, you can do it in 2 ways. 1, get your coffee at Holler Roast. And 2, become a member over at Living Free in Tennessee. A reminder though, we have a monthly webinar for members. It is Making Mozzarella. It is on August 26th at 6 p.m. Central. That's a Thursday. Just head over, log into the membership portal and sign up. I've got a few people signed up already. Looking forward to making some cheese with y'all. With that, go out, make it a great week.